cruising is a trendy destination for Zoomers and, in fact, all people. So even within the context of a small luxury cruise, we're going kayaking in the south of France.
Oh, wow.
So there is active. It's not all about sitting on the Lido deck with a big drink.
When you're talking multi-generational travel, that you can start saving very, very quickly. Once you add grandparents, nieces, nephews, suddenly you're a group and you'll qualify for free places, for priority check-in.
I have one in my bag every single time I travel. It can become an extra carry-on. It can become a shopping bag when I'm walking around. There's just literally nothing like it. It's the best thing ever. And I tell everyone they need one if they don't already have it.
There are a number of free apps that you can download for your favorite smartphone, the device you never leave home without, or in this case, a small tablet to tote along with you.
From the Zoomerplex in historic Liberty Village, the Zoomer with Faith Goldie.
Hello and welcome to the Zoomer, or shall I say bon voyage, because this is our Zoomer travel episode. Hot destinations, travel tips, gadgets, and more. But first, let's tee up the topic.
Retirement age travel traditionally conjures up postcard-like images of Florida beaches and Arizona golf courses. These days, Canada's 1.3 million plus snowbirds jostle for elbow room at airports, with Zoomers bound for places like Iceland, Croatia, Myanmar. In fact, 4 million Zoomers have indicated an interest in unfamiliar destinations. Last year, over 1.5 million of them took 3 or more vacation trips outside of Canada. While away, most of them spent $4,000 or more, much more than any other age group, opting for experiences and activities instead of sedentary downtime. Think volunteerism, genealogical explorations, hobby-filled getaways, educational adventures, and multi-generation family get-togethers. This trend will only grow as 57% of Zoomers expect an inheritance in the next 20 years, and they say travel is their #1 spending priority. That amounts to an estimated 2.5 million trips over the next 5 years. So, where to next?
Where to next, indeed. Okay, at the table, travel experts and enthusiasts. They trek to faraway lands in search of the latest buzzworthy adventures. Joining us from across Canada in Victoria, BC, Alison Gardner, publisher and editor of Travel with a Challenge, and via Beam Technology from sunny Mexico, you lucky little thing, you. Donna Mayer of nomadwoman.com. All right, as you roll up here, Donna, Alison, I want to start with you. You focus on alternative tourism. Tell us a little bit what that means and what's its appeal.
We don't want to just go and do lying on a beach or relax. What we want to do is leave home to do something meaningful or useful and to learn, always learn. So effectively, alternative travel means nature-based vacationing, educational vacationing, cultural, historical, ethnic cuisines of different countries, and also things like volunteering abroad, volunteer vacationing, which is really something that the older people invented. And so it's really fast growing, it's highly in demand, and I can talk about more about that later.
Lynn, I want to shift to you. Would you agree with what Alison's saying? Is it more than just this snowbird destination when it comes to the Zoomer population?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with laying on a beach, but that's not most people's goals these days. And there are so many things to do, and tours on location or here at home that help you get there, that can really help you fulfill those things. So soft adventure. Getting out in a kayak, or taking bird watching even. Hiking, all of those things, and also the giving back elements. We don't want our footprint to, the whole point of going to a destination is that we want that destination to be able to be enjoyed by other people. So lots of people engage in voluntourism, even on a small level of doing one day of volunteering during a longer vacation and help build a school, help clean up a riverbank, that sort of thing. And also, of course, sustainability to begin with. So places and destinations that have eco advantages, so water and solar power and that sort of thing. People are looking for that, and it's available, and that's what the really amazing thing is. People may have been looking for that in the past, but now it's actually becoming a reality, and all kinds of tour providers are starting to supply them.
Okay, and my next question I'm going to pose to the entire table, because when I first was told that we'd do a show on travel, I was kind of hoping I'd be sent away. But since that hasn't happened, I need some ideas. So some Zoomer hot spots outside of the usual Fort Myers, Fort Lauderdale. I was going to say Fort Lickerdale. Huh? All right, Donna, we'll start with you. Where are some trendy hot spots for Zoomers these days?
Well, because I'm in Mexico, I have to say that one of the hot spots obviously is in Mexico. I live here and I love it. I live in San Miguel de Allende, and I'm currently visiting friends in Ajijic near Lake Chapala. It is a very much a hot spot for snowbirds. Lots and lots of Canadians and US snowbirds come down in the winter, not so much in the summer. In San Miguel, we get people both winter and summer.
All right, Rachel, what's your opinion? Where are the hot spots?
Well, certainly Mexico is popular, but I think people are starting to look slightly further afield when it comes to Central America. We see a great sort of number of travelers heading towards Costa Rica, for example, Panama. Even Roatan, which is a small island off Honduras. So I think people are being more adventurous, and what's making it easier is more and more charter airline carriers are offering direct flights from smaller gateways direct to these vacation hotspots. So I think that we are seeing people being a bit more adventurous when it comes to traditional sun destinations.
Certainly, when they're made more accessible, then why not? Gail, have you found that your sense of adventure when it comes to your next hotspot, has it changed? Has it increased? How does adventure play into your decision-making process?
It's changed. I was a married woman, and travel was a couple experience, and now I'm a single woman, and that changes the complete story. You think about different things. So you think about where they speak your language, you think about safety, you think about medical, those kinds of things, where I never thought of that when I was traveling as a couple.
Now, when you hear the other ladies talk about philanthropic travel, is that something that would appeal to you?
No, I'm lazy. On vacation, I just want to lay around.
Right. Now, when people hear philanthropic travel, though, and this voluntourism, I mean, I think about going and building a house. And maybe for a lot of Zoomers, that's not really for them. So for the ladies that have done this sort of stuff, is there something that's maybe not as impact involved? Allison?
The articles that I have in my web magazine right now are on volunteering in orphanages, social service in communities, but organic gardening. There's an organization called WOOF, which you can look up, WWOOF, and it's all about gardening, organic gardening around the world, and it's a combination of learning and volunteering. There's volunteering with injured and orphaned African wildlife. There's conservation and care of giant pandas in China. And I just got one in my email today that is on the big island of Hawaii, and it's you can volunteer to take an animal, or a dog, I should say, out from the local equivalent of the SPCA, out for the day in your rented car and do whatever you normally do. And if you're missing your own four-footed friend, you take the dog. It's all been vetted. It's a human-friendly animal, and then you bring it back at the end of the day.
With dogs. See, look, and see, Gail said, there you go. Gail said that wasn't for her, but yet there is something for everyone.
I didn't know.
Okay, we have to shift gears. Cruise ships, okay? There are a lot of people who are all for them, or they are totally against them. They don't want to be in some sort of condominium on the waters. Lynn, I know you're destined to go on one within about a week's time. Where are you going? And sell it to us. Is it for everyone, or is it even a good investment?
It's absolutely for everyone. In fact, I say that cruising is a lot like dating. If you say you've had a bad cruise...
I don't know if that's a good selling feature.
So it's a lot like dating. If you say you've been on a bad cruise, the people who say I hate cruising, we're just on a cruise that wasn't the right match for them. Right. And there's really a cruise, my belief, and I tell people this, is that there is a cruise out there for everyone. Cruising is a trendy destination for Zoomers, and in fact, all people. So even within the context of a small luxury cruise, we're going kayaking in the south of France.
Oh, wow.
So there is active, it's not all about sitting on the Lido deck with a big drink, although you can certainly do that if you wish. But even cruising, there is a match out there for everyone. There are the expedition ships that take you to Antarctica, and I call them the Gore-Tex cruises, because it's more about Gore-Tex than black tie. Exactly. And then there are the cruises on the cruise ships like Silver Sea. There are black tie and formal night optional. But within that context, and then there are the very big cruise ships that in fact really speak to another big Zoomer travel trend, which is multi-generational travel. So on all cruise ships, but especially the big cruise ships, they are really set up so that grandma and granddad and mom and dad and aunts and uncles and the kids can all have a really great time. And in fact, they're structured and set up, and even in terms of stateroom configurations, so that everyone has lots of time to be together and have great family time, but then also everyone gets to scatter, do their own thing, and have a wonderful time.
Now, I know we're going to be talking more about intergenerational travel as well as different accessibility issues that can be tackled in travel. But for now, more ports of call after this short break. We'll be right back.
Hi Zoomers, here I am on my cruise on the Silver Spirit. I thought you might want to see a little bit more of this cruise ship and this cruise. Cruising with Silver Sea is what's known as small ship luxury cruising. It means there are hundreds of other guests, not thousands. So it really feels like being a guest on a large luxury yacht.
Welcome back to the travel edition of the Zoomer. Now, multi-generational travel is among the top travel activities for Zoomers, a chance for them to spend quality time with children and grandchildren. But it can also pose logistical issues. And also, how do you make sure that there's something of interest for everyone given the age range? Now, Rachel, I want to start with you. This summer, I'm planning a trip with my grandparents, my parents, myself, my sister, as well as my sister's baby. So there's going to be 4 generations of us. What sort of logistical issues can we anticipate, and how are we supposed to overcome those hurdles?
Sure. Well, I think first of all, you're right to be thinking about it now, because with group travel, you do need to book in advance. Firstly, you'll get better deals. You know, if you book a trip 3-6 months out, you can normally qualify for group booking, group booking discounts. And remember, group bookings can start at 10, and then you can actually start saving from there. Don't think you need a coach load of people. So it's very easy when you're talking multi-generational travel that you can start saving very, very quickly. Once you add grandparents, nieces, nephews, suddenly you're a group and you'll qualify for free places, for priority check-in. And it's definitely worth shopping around, looking at different tour operators. Summing Vacations, for example, does really strong group deals. And also different resorts cater better than others. So that's what you need to look at in terms of not only room types, but also the actual activities in resort. I think it's best to, get those floor plans, look at the room plans. You can also save if you go to a resort that has differently configured suites, for example, and you'll be able to fit more family members, in one room rather than when you go for the next room. You can look at connecting rooms and really just look at what's actually there, because there's nothing worse than a bored grandchild.
Right, absolutely. Now, Alison, you're nodding your head. Have you done some intergenerational travel recently? And if so, what did you find?
My mother used to love 3-generation travel, and she had 19 great grandchildren and great grandchildren, and she always liked to do this one-on-one. And so it would be, she'd say, I think it's time we did a trip with so-and-so, and then would be that one grandchild and the grandchild's mother, which sometimes was me. But they were such incredibly memorable trips.
I want to touch a bit on accessibility. I've traveled with, grandparents and my mother, who both needed canes and wheelchairs. In your travels, are there options out there that can still be fun for, the youngest generation, but still be practical for Zoomers and onwards?
Cruise ships, they go to almost everywhere in the world, but they're completely accessible in many, many ways. So for example, even if you were going on a European or a Mediterranean cruise, and again, this speaks to the multi-generational aspect as well, but maybe in one port of call, we know this is going to be tight. It's a medieval walled village. So you have to climb up, it's cobbled, so it's like, wow, this is not happening for somebody who needs accessibility help. But the other members of the family can go and enjoy it, and the person who needs accessibility can stay on the ship and still have a wonderful day, and maybe different ports of call help in different ways, and they can experience it.
And I think that's really important with multi-generational travel, not thinking that everyone has to do exactly the same thing all day long. And I think there's so many really versatile destinations that you can head for, where you can almost sort of do different things throughout the day to complement different age groups. I mean, Mexico, the Mayan Riviera in Mexico is a great example, that you've got the archaeology, you've got the golf, you've got the water parks, you've got the eco parks. There's so many different things that cater to different age groups, and son and father and son can go play golf. Mum and grandma can hit the spa. You don't all have to do the same thing all the time.
And in fact, it's better
and share
if they
experience
don't.
at the end of the day.
Do you want to go for 2 weeks and live in each other's back pockets? I mean, I think you want everyone to be speaking to each other when you come home, right? So in fact,
if it was just a group of girls getting together going, or guys.
I think that's the key thing. If you are traveling in a larger group, you have to accept that you can't all be together in each other's pockets the whole time, or it's not going to work. So looking for those versatile destinations where you can do a bit of this, and you can pre-book it as well. You can almost do your itinerary in advance.
Can't please everyone.
Where you are on land, we heard Rachel say that it's good there in Mexico for intergenerational travel. Is that something that you come across often? And if so, sell Mexico to us.
I think it depends on where you are. Certainly in certain areas of Mexico, it's excellent. And I think I think resort vacations are excellent.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think once you actually get to the destination, provided you've picked the right place, there's only so much that can go wrong, and like you said, you pick and choose who does what. One of the biggest stresses for me is the actual airport. It really is, especially if there's a connecting flight. Allison, have you ever dealt with a wheelchair accessibility between flights? And if so, how did that work out for you?
Well, you must be reading my mind, Faith. I have just booked my very first wheelchair accessibility for myself, but I've got an injury right now that would make running between airports or between air flights very problematic. And so my husband is greatly relieved that I have agreed to a wheelchair. So yes, I will tell you, I can report back later on, but it was so easy to book, and the airline had their own medical assistance desk that they put me through to, and they did all the flight connections, gave me briefings on it. It was just way easier than I thought it would be.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm already planning my next trip. All right, more happy travels on the other side of this break. Stay right there.
Okay, Zoomers, thinking about some adventure travel? How about cycling through the UK? Gorgeous scenery in southern Wales.
Welcome back to theZoomer. Today we're exploring the wonderful world of vacations and travel, Zoomer style. While Zoomers are spending more money per trip than anyone else, there are many who are on fixed incomes who are looking for more wallet-friendly destinations. So Rachel, I want to ask you first, what are the sorts of things that budget-conscious travelers, Zoomers, should be keeping in mind?
Well, obviously destination can be a factor, but also when you book, one nice thing obviously about when you're not tied to things like school holidays and vacation, do look for midweek departures. They can often reduce your cost as well, and obviously avoiding those sort of peak periods such as Christmas, March break, that type of thing. A great destination is Cuba, which is always performs really well if you are on a budget.
Right. Even with now the fact that the US, they're able to travel there more freely, you don't think that we're going to see a spike in prices?
They are and they aren't. It's a question we're being asked a lot at Sell-Off Vacations, that, is it still cheap? It is. There have been sort of some relaxing in the regulation, but it's still a lot harder for Americans to get there than Canadians. So I would still recommend it. It always performs really, really well. I mean, another destination you could look at is the Dominican Republic, but I think Cuba normally, in terms of getting bang for your buck, it's hard to beat when you're looking at a southern destination. And of course, you've got all that culture there as well. you've got Havana and some amazing beaches. So it's definitely one to look at.
Now, what about all-inclusive? Some people will kind of poo-poo the idea, but if you're looking to do something on a budget, are there...
Can't beat it on a budget.
Right? What's your position on it?
Well, actually, I was just going to say, Rachel, would you agree with me? So some people may not like the all-inclusive kind of idea, but Rachel, maybe you can speak to this. Certainly my sense is that in order to at least be able to manage your budget, to book as many things as you can in advance. And that at least you've controlled for those things.
Yeah.
You know how much you're spending. So that's a little bit different. And all-inclusive, some people like them, some people don't. But even if you choose not for an all-inclusive, to book things in advance, so at least you know you've spent that money and you can keep that tally
I think
in your
especially
head.
now with obviously the loonies not had a great run recently.
Right.
I think that's another way of doing it. That at least if you're pre-booking, you're paying in Canadian dollars. As you say, most of your trip expenses have been done before you actually step on the plane, and it can make a really, really big difference because if you're traveling with the fear of the credit card bill dropping on the mat when you get home, it's not a nice way to travel. So even if you're not a great fan of, but I mean, to be quite honest, nowadays with all-inclusive, it's not what it was. You're not shuffling around buffet lines. Most resorts have a wide range of a la carte dining included at no supplement. So it doesn't mean that it's going to be a downgrade experience if you do decide to go the all-inclusive route at all.
Now, Gail, would you ever consider all-inclusive, or do you just hear spring breakers and
No,
away?
no. I've done it once in the Caribbean, and I had rack of lamb 12 out of 13 nights. The chef was amazing. It was really good.
Well, I'm glad that was your experience. I thought you were going to say you had rack of lamb because you didn't enjoy anything else.
Yeah, because it was
I still think about it, and it's been 15 years.
Dreaming of rack of lamb.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
I mean, I've eaten very well at all-inclusive resorts.
the food was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
Can I speak to one other thing? I think that's, if you want to travel on a budget and if you want to, manage your money wisely, let's talk about staying home, right? Why don't you just stay here?
Absolutely. So, a lot of people will say, I got to go to exotic places, even, transatlantic. What about this great country?
Well, let's face it, next year, 2017, is Canada's 150th birthday. So maybe we should all say, let's celebrate Canada and celebrate Canada as we travel. And, the idea that you're going to a log cabin somewhere and eating maple syrup, let's get out of our own stereotypes and realize there might be lamb basted in maple syrup for you. I will do that for you. But I just finished a video series that Meet the Makers of Peterborough and the Kawarthas. So only 90 minutes from Toronto in beautiful cottage and lake country, and a different way of looking at travel. It doesn't have to be, it can be lakeside, but go out and find artisans and studios to meet. There's wonderful soft adventure, all of the water sports and all of those things, but there are many, many things, and exquisite. There are top chefs in the world in Canada. There's amazing dining experiences, amazing soft adventure. We know about the scenery, but let's find ways to celebrate Canada. And you know what? Then your budget's very much in control. You're spending Canadian dollars. You don't have to worry about, as you say, that, not only the credit card, look at that exchange rate today.
Yeah, and also when you're traveling in-house, so to speak, it makes the idea of travel a little bit easier. You can go on like a 4-day or a 3-day trip to see Niagara.
Yes.
I just was in Banff, actually. It was my first time ever going there, and I just thought, how great is this country?
Yes.
We've got the Rockies, and you don't have to stay at the big palatial places.
You can
find something cheap and cheerful nearby,
where it's all glass and you get to see the mountains, even if you do it, and the West End only.
Donna, I don't know, there was a story that surfaced a little while ago about a woman who found it more cost-effective to actually go on cruise ships than to enter into a retirement home. And I'm wondering, even if cruise ships aren't your bag, are there ways, should you still have mobility and a thirst for travel, are there ways to do it more longer term on a budget?
I don't know that I would ever opt for her choice. But I'm one of those people you mentioned that's on a fixed income. And one of my absolutely favorite tips for traveling inexpensively or for cutting your expenses is to not be afraid to take advantage of the sharing economy when you travel. That's how I save money. For instance, there are apps for ride sharing in Europe. Also, the apartment rental programs. I'm going to be in Stockholm this summer for a week. And Stockholm is a very, very expensive city. And I couldn't find a hotel for under, even a cheap hotel, $150. But I found a room in an apartment for less than 200 euros for a week.
That's impressive. Well, it's as though you're reading my mind. I'm happy you brought up the sharing economy because travel apps, that's next. Stay right there.
So as I told you, we're going first to Giza. Giza, which is famous for the Great Pyramid and the Great Sphinx.
Welcome back to our travel episode of theZoomer. In many ways, travel has gotten a lot easier thanks to these little things called apps. The smartphone can now be your very own compact and mobile travel planner with hundreds of related apps to choose from. We asked our tech expert, Mark Saltzman, to point us in the right direction when it comes to digital travel enhancers. Check this out.
Nice to see you all. I'm thrilled to be chatting with you about some recommended travel apps to help plan your next vacation, or if it's a bit of business travel. And there are a number of free apps that you can download for your favorite smartphone, the device you never leave home without, or in this case, a small tablet to tote along with you. And the idea is that technology can help you. It's almost like a personal assistant that will remind you to do things and remind you to pack and keep all your reservations in one place. So let's start off with a great app to book your travel. You can use your favorite airlines app like, say, Air Canada or WestJet or what have you, or Expedia if you want to use a travel service to research the best prices for where you're going, as well as hotels and maybe rental cars. And you use those apps to book your travel securely, and you've got all the information right on there. So that's what Expedia looks like there. And then what I really like to use is an app called TripIt, where you email all of your itineraries, and that could have been done offline, by the way. Even if you like using a travel agent, that's fine. You email your itineraries to plans@tripit.com, and as the company says, it auto-magically puts all of your itineraries in one place. You see your hotel info, a map, and nearby restaurants and other businesses nearby. You've got all your flight itineraries all in one place with reminders and push alerts to your phone or your tablet. Rental car information, tourist information, and so on. That's TripIt, and there's a free version of that, and I use that app all the time. It's really simple to use, even if you don't need a degree in computer engineering to use TripIt. That's the best part. Another great app before you leave is called Packing Planner. This is a free app for both Apple and Android devices, and as the name suggests, you've got, as you can see here in my example, some upcoming trips planned, New York City and Las Vegas. Lucky me. Well, you can double down on this app because it is free to use, and it lets you simply, it reminds you what to pack, because every trip might be a little bit different. You can customize the checklist or use their preset ones here, and you simply use your fingertip to tap that little box to check it off, so you know that you're not leaving anything behind. There's nothing worse than going on the trip and second guessing what you should have brought with you, right? And then finally, when you're on your trip, apps can help you there as well. It's not just all beforehand, but during your travels. This one here is called Convert Free. It does a ton of different conversions for you, whether it's time or distance or currency. You simply type in the parameters, in this case 100 Canadian dollars into US. So you've got that information in your back pocket or in your purse to help you along the way. We know it can be overwhelming to find the best app to download. Read customer reviews before you download it, especially for the paid apps. You want to see what other people have said first. There's no shortage of great free apps to download to your favorite Apple or Android device. And also post your comments as well. It's very much a community-based experience. You want to share your feedback for others as well. But no shortage of great downloads, just in time for your next trip.
All right, thanks, Mark. Okay, Rachel, first to you. Are there any travel apps you just can't leave the house without?
I think a great one is actually one that I discovered when I went to Royalton Riviera Cancun last year, which was actually an app that you downloaded when you checked into the resort, and it gave you the option to call home free using the resort's Wi-Fi. So obviously, if you wanted to keep in touch with friends and family, what a great app. So I think more and more hotels are doing that. So that's definitely something to look out for. Another one I really like if you are traveling with friends is called Splitter. And it basically looks at your daily budget from day to day, and you can tap it all in, and it will tell you exactly how much each of you should be spending. Oh, wow. And it also accommodates for different exchange rates and different currencies. So no more arguing over, well, I'm sure that's worth that, you know, when it comes to the bill. So I think that's a really cute one.
And I think a lot of these places, whether it's your reservation in travel or a reservation actually with a hotel, say, they incentivize you downloading their app by basically giving you bargains down the road. Donna, you mentioned some of them that involve the sharing economy. Are there any specific names of certain ones that you'd recommend to folks watching today?
My favorite one for the ride sharing in Europe is called BlaBlaCar.
So that's kind of like their version of Uber, maybe.
No, it's not exactly like Uber because you're not actually just paying for a driver. What you do is you put in where you're starting and where you want to go. And then there are a lot of people who are actually driving that route anyway, and they're looking for riders to share the cost. And so I just go to BlaBlaCar and I put in where I'm starting and where I want to go. And it brings up all the people that are making that drive that are looking for passengers to share the cost. I use that a lot. I also do use Airbnb all the time.
Airbnb is fantastic. I'm actually turning one floor of my house into an Airbnb flat just because I think it's awesome, and you can find such great deals. And it's not just about the travel exchange and process itself. I found this great app, actually, and they make them for different parts of Canada, especially. Gypsy, GPSY. And what it is, you can set up to your car, and there'll be a talking tour as you're driving around with cool historical things that have happened here, there, and the rest of it. Is this at all important to you, Gail?
Yes, I would download that kind of an app.
That kind of an app, okay.
Yes.
So, because it's like a free tour, right?
And I mean, those all sound nice, but there are essentials too. You should have, in terms of your trip, you really should have the apps for, say, your airline.
Yes.
If anything happens, weather or whatever, flights get canceled, anything happens, the best way to be the first person in line to rebook is to have an app and to be that person electronically. So those are really, there's some nice to have apps, and then there's some must have travel apps. And I would say the must have travel apps would include your carrier, whether that's an airline or a cruise ship or a train, and just in case, basically making sure your plans are taken care of. And then also hotels. I think those are the must have. You really shouldn't leave home without them. And then there are, of course, all the fun ones that are nice to have. But I would caution, if I may, an app is only as powerful as the Wi-Fi that drives it. So people who rely 100% on their phones are really taking a big risk. I'm pretty tech savvy and I like my apps, but I would never leave home without a printed itinerary and all of my details. It sounds completely Luddite and old-fashioned, but really do not leave home without it. Print out your travel details. What happens if your phone doesn't turn on, you don't know what your hotel name is?
Right.
You know, you need the hard copy still. We're not in a hard copy free environment, and we take Wi-Fi for granted here. It's not the same in the rest of the world.
And I think there's also a cost implication as well with Wi-Fi, that it's very easy if you don't put the right settings on your phone that you'll arrive somewhere and your service provider will put you on the local mobile network and you won't realize that you're using that to access your data. And you can rack up
your phone.
That's right.
You can rack up horrible bills.
Walking along a slippery dock.
Or not putting it on, or even, you know, airplane mode on the plane. And if I could just have one more, this is more in the lines of pet peeve. If you insist on taking your tablet, I mean, a phone is one thing. If you insist on taking your tablet, don't put it in my face. When you want to go take a photo of something, that's right. If we're all along the rail of a boat, or if we're sharing a seat on a train, please don't do that with your tablet.
Do
that.
I don't know when carrying a small digital camera became out of fashion and walking around with a virtual TV screen became more practical. Okay, when we return, we go from apps to gadgets, travel-friendly doohickeys after the break.
This is an awesome place to be. A little chilly today because we're right on the ocean with the wind and the breeze blowing, but still a fun, romantic place to walk around and see. Lots of shopping to do. There's a lot of little shops that you can go through and see. This is a fun place to come and see. Come to Markham.
Welcome back to the Zoomer Vacation episode. Now, before the break, we learned about helpful travel apps. Now our tech expert is going to share his favorite new travel gadgets. Watch this.
Going on a trip or playing around with technology may sound like mutually exclusive pastimes, but the two can actually go hand in hand. In fact, if you bring the right gadgets with you on your next trip, it can actually enhance and enrich your travels. And I brought a few mobile devices with me to illustrate my point, beginning with a tablet. This is from Lenovo called the Yoga Tab 3 Pro. This is a beautiful 10-inch tablet that runs Android. There we go, powered on here. It has a few bells and whistles. One is that it has a built-in kickstand, so you can prop it up behind you comfortably. It's got front-facing speakers, so you've got nice loud audio, including a built-in subwoofer. Expandable memory, which is something the iPad doesn't offer. In case you run out of storage, you can easily pop in a micro SD card to double, triple, or even quadruple the amount of storage there. It's got an up to 18-hour battery, which is unprecedented. And my favorite feature, as I'll show you right here, is a built-in projector. That's right. Let's say you get to your hotel room, you don't like what's on the boob tube, you press a button on the side of the tablet, and it'll actually beam an image up to 70 inches on the wall or ceiling in front of you. How cool is that? A built-in movie projector in your pocket. And then when you get back from your trip and you need to bring this to the boardroom, everybody will think you're cool because you've got some high-tech gadget instead of lugging that big projector, right? So again, this is the Lenovo Yoga Tab 3 Pro, a 10-inch Android tablet. Next up, speaking of tablets and smartphones, which again are recommended on your trip, you may not want to lug a big laptop, but what if you have to do a little bit of work or you've got some long emails to write? Instead, you may want to consider a Bluetooth wireless keyboard like this one here from Microsoft. As you can see, it's foldable. That's what it's called, the Microsoft Foldable Keyboard. And what I like about it, along from the month-long battery life, and it is rechargeable with the cable that comes in the box, is that it works with Android, Apple, and Windows devices. In the top right corner, rather, you just press this little button and you can cycle between the operating systems, and then it wirelessly lets you type on a device in front of you, and you can prop it up, and that way you don't have to carry a big laptop with you, the old Backbreaker 3000. Leave that at home, but then just bring this with you if you have to do some long form typing. That's from Microsoft. The next two devices are great for road trips. One is this backup battery from Chamberlain that of course juices up your smartphone or tablet or camera if you need it, whether you're in or outside of the vehicle, of course. But the reason why it's a good road trip gadget is, get this, it can actually charge up your car. It can boost your engine's battery should you need it without you having to call roadside assistance or having to flag somebody down, which could be unsafe on the highway. You actually connect this little gadget here to the backup battery, and if you connect the familiar red and black to the battery in the vehicle under the hood, and you can charge it up to 10 times with one charge. And so you can keep this in your purse or in your backpack or what have you to charge up multiple devices, two at once, and it's got a little emergency light as well to see in the dark. That's from Chamberlain. And then finally, a dash cam is a great idea. So these of course mount to your windshield or your dashboard, and it has a first-person high-definition account of what's happening in front of your vehicle should you need it, just in case you need video evidence of something. But also, people like to use this recreationally. They like to watch later on and listen to their adventures. You may have seen a deer on the side of the road, or you may have, you want to mount this on a motorcycle when you get to your destination for your travels. But people do like to keep this in their car for a first-person account. This is from FLIR. It's called the FLIR FX, and it is an example of one of those dashboard cameras that are increasingly popular. Well, as you can see, no shortage of great gadgets to bring along with you on your next vacation. Bon voyage.
Thanks, Mark. I know for me, the most important gadget that I have while I'm traveling, it's a solar-powered charging station, which is great for especially your beach vacations. Your phone can stay plugged in the whole time. All right, Lynn, what you got there?
Well, what I've got here is, it's old school. This is not high-tech at all. It's a Longchamp, not to plug a brand name, it's a Longchamp pliage bag. What's brilliant about this, through the magic, it unfolds, it's heavy duty. You can carry around your laptop in this. It folds up into something tiny. You hang it over your shoulder, you take it with you. I have one in my bag every single time I travel. It can become an extra carry-on. It can become a shopping bag when I'm walking around. There's just literally nothing like it. It's the best thing ever. And I tell everyone they need one if they don't already have one.
Well, they sell them at airports all the time. I know some
Yes.
people will say, well, do I really want to, pay, let's say, $100 or whatever for a canvas bag?
Yes, you do.
You do. It does not. It never breaks. I've had mine for years. I'm
yes.
talking about like 6-7 years I've had mine, and it's gone everywhere with me.
Handbag, shopping bag, souvenir carrier, extra carry-on bag. You just can't beat it.
Donna, what about you? Any specific gadgets that do it for you?
I like to take pictures with my camera because it takes better pictures than my phone, but my camera does not have Wi-Fi. And I saw something last night I want to get. It's a Wi-Fi enabled memory card that you put in your camera, and it actually has Wi-Fi embedded in the card, and it uploads the pictures as you take them to your iPhone or your iPad, and then you can put them on Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And I really want to get that. That suits my lifestyle perfectly.
That's awesome. And God forbid if anything ever went wrong with the camera, you don't want to lose all those memories along with it.
And it also automatically uploads it to the cloud, to cloud storage at the same time.
That's perfect. Now, I've got a few little not-so-techy gadgets myself. The first one is Add-a-Lock, and this is really great. Gail, I couldn't help but think about you because I know that safety is such a priority, especially if you're traveling alone, maybe as a woman. This is an additional lock that you can add on the inside, let's say, of your cabin, on a cruise ship, or inside a hotel room. Now, it comes with instructions, so don't worry. Essentially, this fastens itself onto the inside of your lock, so there is no way that anyone is going to be getting in there. If you're worried, let's say you're going to a place where security is a little bit questionable, this is your recommended travel buddy. On top of that, and this is something, again, cheap and cheerful, super simple, packing cubes. They are selling like hotcakes now. Why? Because, so much of travel, especially if you've got different destinations, it's about efficiency, being able to find what you're looking for quickly. So all this allows you to do is neatly organize what you've packed, So for something small, maybe this is for your wireless devices, for your extra chargers. Maybe this is just socks and undergarments, and this is something else. So I love this because you don't have to dig through your carry-on or other suitcases. And finally, we've got the flip stick, and this is a fold-away walking stick. This is one version of what I know is available all sorts of different places. So let me just take this out of this very convenient, tiny little bag. And what does it do? Ta-da! So this becomes then a walking stick, kind of like a cane. And the cool secondary function that it has is if you just flip it up like this, it actually becomes a neat little place where if you need a few moments just to kind of take the weight off your feet, off your knees a little bit, you can rest your bottom just along here. Let's say you're sightseeing somewhere. It gives you that little bit of reprieve before you hit the road. And I should say foldable canes, super easy to find. You can do it at Shoppers Drug Mart for under $20. Okay, stay right there. More of our Zoomer episode on the other side of the stage. Welcome back to the Zoomer. Today we've gone around the world in search of bold new travel adventures and helpful ways to get us there. Now before we sign off, let's go around the table for some final brief thoughts from our panelists. So what should we keep in mind before we plan our next getaway? We'll start with you, Rachel.
Well, I think first of all, you should bear in mind that travel's meant to be fun, and don't shy away from exploring. Don't always look for the easiest option. So I think that'd probably be my thought, and do consider trying different experiences. We talked about eco travel, we talked about cruising. I think try something different.
Absolutely, Alison.
There is no place on earth that you cannot get to if you set your mind to it, and you go with such a variety of ways that there's no excuse for staying home.
There you go. Donna.
I would say I find now that at 70, I'm traveling more than I did in my 50s. And so I think my new mantra and my mantra for other women like me is you're not too old and it's not too late.
There you go. Gail.
I would encourage myself and others to go someplace they've never been before.
You don't have to go far. You don't have to spend an enormous amount of money, but find a new experience in another place that gets you outside of yourself, makes you a better person.
I think for me, that new other place is going to be a cruise ship, actually. You've all done a very good job of selling me on it. Okay, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to hit the road. We'll see you soon. For now, it's time to zoom out.